So, gaming on a Mac sounds unusual before, right? Well, I've tested the new Mac Mini to its limits to find out if this can be a gaming beast, from high-end games like Borderlands 3, Alien Isolation to the award-winning Hades and more. So, will it overheat? Will it drop frames? But most importantly, can it handle them all? Now, just for context, the Mac Mini that I have over here is the M4 Pro chip with 12-core CPU and 16-core GPU built in. It also has a 48GB of RAM and 1TB of SSD storage. So, I'll be testing the Mac Mini with 5 different games with different levels of graphics fidelity. The heavy hitters will be Borderlands 3 and Alien Isolation, while the mid-tier games will be Shadow of Tomb Raider, and the games that should be the easiest to run, I've selected the legendary Arkham City and Hades. Now, one thing to note is that all of these games are games that can natively run on macOS without needing to have a third-party apps like Crossover to run, because I wanted to see how these games that was supposedly built to run on Macs really perform. But this is what exactly I'll be using alongside the Mac Mini, where I'll be using a 1440p gaming monitor from LG and also the TCL C755, an 85-inch TV with 144Hz variable refresh rate, together with the DualSense controller. And that will be the main game controller. And I'll also be using a normal keyboard and mouse setup, because what's a proper gaming without these two, right? So let's start with Borderlands 3. Now, this game might not be everyone's favorite because it has quite a disappointing story. But I can't deny that this game is one hell of a ride. So it's currently running at its highest badass graphics setting with resolution set to 1440p. Now, the game ran quite smoothly with a frame rate that goes between 40 to 50 FPS most of the time, but it did drop about 30 frames at times, mainly during combat or heavy loading scenes. Now, you can go up to 60 frames if you want to, but you will have to sacrifice the graphics to just medium together with a 1080p resolution. Now, the temperature of the Mac Mini did become a little warm after a very long gameplay, but the good news is that even with the high temperatures, it did not affect the gameplay at all. Now, during my very long gameplay, the Mac Mini did slow down just once when I was playing this game, but fortunately for me, this did not happen again throughout my gameplay with this particular game. Not sure why it happened, but at least I'm happy that this is one-off incident. Next, let's look at how the Alien Isolation performed. So this game is actually one of our tech writers' side's biggest nemesis because of how scary and intense the game is. Like, seriously, Side once played this game with all the lights on and a blanket over his head. Safe to say that Alien Isolation is scarier than your internet bill. So I managed to run this game with the Ultra settings with resolution of 1440p, which is the highest setting that you can get in-game. Now, there were very minor hiccups here and there. The frame rate does fluctuate between 45 to 75 frames per second. Then it dips about the 30 frame level when I encounter those very intense moments in the game. So I would say that this game isn't the smoothest to run at the maxed out settings, but it is quite playable. To get the smoothest gameplay, I would just advise to lower the settings to medium at 1080p. Now, this is honestly a little surprising because I thought that this particular game would be one of the easier games to run, but I guess that's why we do this kind of test, right? So if you'd like to see more tests like this, be sure to give this video a nice big thumbs up, and a subscription would be lovely too, as we are on the way towards 200,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can reach that by May 2025, so thank you very much in advance. Now, let's move on to see how Shadow of the Tomb Raider performed. Now, like Borderlands 3, I had the game at the highest graphic settings with resolution set to 1440p. Now, this game is one of the easiest games to run. It ran well at a steady 60 frames throughout my entire playthrough. Now, I was actually quite impressed that the game didn't dip below 58 frames even during intense combat scenes. So yeah, it's smoother than me trying to flirt, but this actually works consistently. However, the Mac did feel a little warmer than playing Borderlands 3, but then again, I did not notice any effects on my gameplay. Now on to one of the best superhero games, one of the best games of all time, which is Arkham City. With one of the best depiction of that idiot Batman and Joker, because if you know me, you know that I love the Joker. So the game's graphic has been set to extreme, which is the highest, and the FXAA anti-aliasing was set to high, and the resolution has been set to 1440p over here. Now the game ran at 60 frames throughout my whole playthrough without any dips or any graphical glitches whatsoever. So yeah, this was more reliable than Alfred showing up for Bruce Wayne, because let's be honest, even Batman would drop frames if his butler was not around. So yeah, considering its age, I was not very surprised that the game ran very well over here, but it is good that it did. Now let's move on to Hades, the indie game that won many significant awards when it came out, another favorite from our tech writer side and many gamers out there. Now of course, by far this game is the easiest to run, but it ran flawlessly without any issues whatsoever at 1440p. Now the game frame rate was super smooth without any stutters at all. So yeah, this was something that I really knew that it would run well, and I'm glad it did. Now, if you want a written version of everything mentioned in this video, we do have one at our website at www.adamlobo.tv, where we also have some daily tech news over there too. Links to that will be down below. So generally, I had a very great time gaming on the Mac Mini, but while the gaming performances was really great, I did have some inconsistent experience with the DualSense controller where it would suddenly disconnect when I was gaming. Now, I'm not sure why that happened, but after reading online, it seems to indicate that it's a Bluetooth problem, and this is caused by the recent Mac OS update, so hopefully a software update can fix that. Now this is because even our video editor Apit also mentioned that he has issues connecting his controller to his MacBook recently after the recent update as well. But despite some minor issues, Apple is making huge strides when it comes to gaming on the Mac. But this M4 Pro Mac Mini is another huge step forward, so PC gamers beware because Mac gamers are coming.